Boy, they all over disconnect. How you doing today, Comet? Hopefully you're having a good Saturday. And there's a reservation for the fort. There you. Wow. That's... Yeah, that is something. This will probably be the last siege that Gigi and them will be in on, because it's getting late for them. I think it's like 3, 4 in the morning where they're at already. So yeah, this is pretty much last ditch effort for them. You level as fast as you want to, man. I got you. About the only way they're Destra's getting in on this is if they go to 8 peaks and come in from that side, because I don't see many of them making a suicide run. I got you. Yikes. Yeah, we've had power outages here too. No worries, man. I'll start, like I said, I'll go ahead and start the podcast, and then you can join in if you can. If you can't, I understand, because we're having bad weather here too, so I don't even know how long I'll get to stay on, because it was popping lightning a little while ago. It's gotten quiet now, but where I live at, storms happen rapidly. Welcome in, Karis. Alright guys, well I guess we'll go ahead and start the podcast now, because I'm going to finish out this fort with Formosa. But I will, like I said, I will be talking about a couple of different topics. One of which is I'm kind of interested to hear, and this comment you might be able to answer it from your perspective because you're still new to things, or even some of the older veterans in channel or whatnot might be able to answer it. What do you think the advantages for those who are starting out now as new players as opposed to what people had in the beginning? Like, I mean, what differences do you see in the leveling system? Do you see it as easier or harder? And this is kind of aimed at both veteran players and new players, because the new players, a lot of the changes that were made with the universal currency and stuff were done specifically to make it easier for newer players to get started. So, yeah, I can hear you. It's fine. I had to do that this morning. I still got part of my programs that aren't working right. Let me unmute the Discord. They should be able to hear you now. Say something. Ooh, hold on. There, that should have corrected that.
Hello.
Yep, I hear you. I had a bad echo. I forgot I had the monitor turned on so it would make sure that it wouldn't go through on stream. I just had to undo it.
Holy microphone, Batman. Oh my goodness, alright.
That's true, Little. That's true. I mean, it's fairly decent leveling up until you start running into the sovereign pre-mades.
Yeah, I heard your question, and if I may,
Go ahead.
I talked about this. Somebody brought this up yesterday on Realm Watch, and so I kind of gave my 2 cents there, but just to repeat it, I think, and for context, in case there's somebody listening who may not be aware, I joined the server back in 2016, just after Tier 4 opened, and that was it, right? There was, or I should say, there were no dungeons at that time. I think Annihilator gear was the top end gear that could be had, because Conqueror came later. So I've played through, all the expansions that the server has had, and I've been here with one notable exception of time, of course, but otherwise I've been here. And so I leveled my Swordmaster during that time, and I don't want anyone to misunderstand what I'm about to say, because I do not mean it negatively. I actually mean it in a positive manner. But leveling a character, if you started today, right now, leveling a character from scratch, it is cosmically more easy than it was back in those days. And getting the gear progression is more easy, simpler, I guess is a better word. And I leveled my Swordmaster to renown rank 78 under the old system of once you hit renown rank 40, all the renown rank points that you got were at a 25% gain. So for every 4 renown points that you earned, you only actually got 1. So if you earned 400 renown points, you only actually got 100. And the people who were playing at that time, it was kind of a big deal then to get into the upper 70s and to around rank 80 because of the restrictions that were put on it. But gear, my God, when Conqueror gear came out, it was next to impossible. Okay, well today, Conqueror gear drops like leaves off a tree. And the leveling process is just far more simpler to accomplish. Now, that's not a bad thing. I don't see that as a bad thing. I see it as a positive growth of the server. But as somebody in your Twitch chat has already said, who was that? About hitting, once you hit 40-40 or 40-50, whatever it is, whatever it is you're at.
Little Demon said easy until 40, then smashed by sovereign pre-mades.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. You're going to hit that point eventually you're going to hit that point where you sort of you get thrown to the wolves, and there's a period of time that you just have to kind of work through until you can get up into the, you can get combinations of Vank and Bloodborne and, like your first few invader pieces and stuff like that. And you can start to stand toe-to-toe with people, but there is that period. He's absolutely right. There is that period where it's kind of like, well, I was going to use a colorful metaphor, but but it's an awakening. I'll put it that way. So
yeah, it's definitely a rude awakening, because once you hit a certain point, you start to grind to get the better gear, but in the meantime, you're gonna get turned into dog chow by the more heavily geared players. I mean, that just goes without saying on that front.
Yeah, but I always promote the, especially when you're going through the tier 2, tier 3 level, I promote the scenario route. And tier 2, tier 3 scenarios are a lot of fun. They tend to be more balanced. And because everybody who's in the scenario is restricted to a certain bracket of growth. And we've talked about before, I think, and I've promoted before that I think it would be worth looking into to perhaps create another scenario bracket for the 40-40s to 40, like 40-40 to 40-60, right? Now, of course, the immediate counter argument to that is we don't have the population to support that, and unfortunately, that's a valid point. But I just always thought, another bracket, another SC bracket like that might be worth examining anyway.
Possibly, but it's still the fact that as you're gearing and stuff, you're gonna run into certain issues. I don't know if putting in another bracket to divide up people would be a wise idea or not.
Well, no, I mean, I have to concede that. I don't know if it would either, but I'm saying I think it's worth an examination.
Little, what do you mean about many warbands won't touch you until RR60 plus like to invite you? Is what you're saying, or I'm trying to understand what you're meaning. Because I know a lot of the pre-made warbands, if you're not at least 60 plus, they won't invite you. And you even got some people that run strictly pug warbands that do that too.
I see, when I'm playing, I mean, I sometimes see the advertisements in the realm chat for the auto band. The guys who use the auto band add-on will tend to take like 16 plus. It'll say, 1 or 2 takes, 1 healer, blah, 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 16 plus. Of course, the problem with that is if you're playing a class that currently isn't needed at the moment, you still can't get in. But some guys do let anyone in the warband if they're playing the right class, right?
Well, I understand what you're saying, Little. at the same time, I've run with a number of pug war bands that weren't, 60 plus people. The majority of them weren't. They were below it, and they did hold their own. I mean, they didn't necessarily win every single fight, but there was more than a few occasions where they, fought it out and did pretty good. How you doing, 6L? So at least as far as in my experience, I've seen a number of ones that they'll put up a fight. Yeah, they may not win, but they'll do a number. I've seen one or two pugs, like true-on pugs, stand up to pre-made and hold them off long enough for a more solid group to come along and help push them out. I know because I've been present there right in the thick of it. Against Gruff Rip, against Broda, against Papa. And they just hammer away at the pugs. They'll single it, they'll zero in on them and go at them. And a lot of times, you're right, yeah, a lot of times the lower RR pugs are going to get chewed up. But there is those rare occasions when you'll get one that actually can hold its own. Well, that's because part of that 6L is because you're playing a class that's always in demand. If you're a tank or a healer, you're pretty much going to get invited. Because there's always a need for both those classes. But when you start getting into like your DPS classes and stuff, that's when people start getting a little choosy because they want to try and get a balance of ranged and melee. Then it's also a balancing act whether or not you get people that will actually listen to what your leader is saying, which the last 2 weeks especially that I've seen is, and I've seen it in pugs a lot. Yeah, that's true, Little. That's true. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I was just pointing out I've seen it from the other of what I've seen too. But Little Demons is right. You got to treat it case by case in some instances as to whether the group's going to be solid or not. I mean, yeah, you could have a pug war band that has some decently geared people with some people that aren't quite geared, and they might be able to hold their own, or they might not. You never know. So that's. But back to what I was originally getting at. I mean, what do you guys think overall for the newer players? Because we've had a lot of new players coming in, such as Comet. I mean, Comet, what's your take on? I mean, are you enjoying the leveling system so far? Are there suggestions you think that would help improve it? Anyone else that's recently started playing RoR, you're free to weigh into this conversation because I would like to hear it because I'm kind of curious as to what some of you think. Oh, I know, Little. I've been in those bait war bands before. And I've actually told the leaders leading, I'm like, guys, they're using us as bait. They're gonna wait till one of the pre-made shows up, and then they'll commit to fighting.
Okay, what?
A
bait?
Where pugs get used as bait while the pre-made sit there and wait in the winds, waiting on the main destro to come in.
Well, yeah, I've seen people.
Rollrum's notorious about doing that, and I know because I've seen him do it. He'll knowingly sit here and back off and watch to see who shows up to pummel that pug. Then he'll step in, kill the other warband, but he'll do nothing to help that pug, even though they're fighting for all they're worth.
Okay, you're talking about in the open RVR. All right.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
As a member of Smash, I respectfully decline to comment.
See, I'm reading off what Tid comments saying. See, but I'm having a great time in T1. You can definitely tell when you're up against pre-made groups or people who are in Discord together. Yeah, that's true. Because all you got to do is look at how their movement and who they're keying in on, and you can tell instantly if you're dealing with a pre-made or not. And if you're dealing with a pre-made, that's a whole nother ball game. It always will be. Alright, well, I was curious as to what some of the newer people thought of how the system was working for them in leveling regards and whatnot. Curious, you got any questions, or does anybody else have any questions or thoughts they would like to put out there for discussion? I really do want to hear from you guys in chat. It's not always about what me and the others in Discord are coming up with. I do like to hear from you guys. You're always gonna have that one comment. I've heard that before myself because the veterans they'll get nitpicky about things and they're never gonna be happy about it.
All right. Since the comment made that comment, I'm gonna go ahead and own up for a moment because okay, he's right, and I know he's right because I'm one of those people. I have to admit, I'm one of those people that sometimes can get a little, what's the word? Get a little annoyed, I guess, in scenario chat, especially. If the scenario isn't being played in the manner I think it should be played. Now, I'm not crude about it. I don't call people names. I don't use bad language or nothing. I just say stuff like, get up to the flag, or we all have to stay together. We split up, we can't win. Stuff like that. All of which happens to be true. That's the one benefit for the comments I might make is they do suffer the benefit of being true, but I can understand where some people who are in the scenario might interpret my comments, and those of others, who might make a comment about the way the scenario is being played, they might interpret them in a negative manner. Okay.
I got you. I mean, it's
my defense for that though is always the same. Language is a precise instrument, and there's a tremendous difference. And I'm going to ask your indulgence, just for a moment, Toth. Okay, just this one time. I'm going to ask for your indulgence because there's a vast difference in the meaning of the words "stay together" and "get to the flag." That statement and the statement, "you guys are a bunch of dumb motherfuckers." Okay, there's a world of difference between those two statements. One is trying to get the people in the scenario to stay together and go to the place where we need to go in order to win. The other is a direct insult to the player base, to the guys that you're playing with. Okay? And so statements should be interpreted in the manner that they're presented, right? And I've seen people in scenarios who come across with comments like that, like,
yeah, I've seen it too.
you blank this, blank that, blank the other thing, you blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm just trying to say that I don't have any, when I get into a scenario and I think, okay, why didn't everybody stay together? If I say something like that, and it's not meant as a personal attack. It's just meant to say, okay, there are ways for these scenarios to be played. There are mechanics in these. There's a ways for the scenario to be played that help your team win.
Yeah,
And if you don't do
true.
those things, you're not helping your team win. So that's the differentiation I would make.
Yeah, I get that. And it's like earlier, I was doing a Howard Gorge, and prime example, order went for kills. We won it by simply keeping Destro from capping anything, but it took forever for it to get to that point.
Uh-oh, I seem to have lost connection. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
The game isn't responding.
Yeah, it's froze up for everybody.
Okay.
Yep, everybody just disappeared.
Yeah.
There it just went.
The server is down.
Ooh, that ain't a good thing. The end of Warhammer. No! 2.0. Yeah, it hardcore crashed. It's coming back up now. But yeah, it's a little bit of... The thing is with it, common, is there's people, I mean myself included, I've seen people that have stepped up to try to lead. It boils down how willing are people to listen. And what I see a lot of in order, they refuse to listen. No matter what you try to do, you can give them advice and you can plead with them to say, guys, this is what we need to do. Like in Howling Gorge, the whole objective of it is to capture the flags in a certain order and then progress to the next one and hold them all. I mean, it's simple enough mechanics, but yet you got people that all they want to do is they want to run off on their own and do whatever. I mean, they won't listen. They're like, oh, I'm here to get my kills. It's all about kills, kills, kills. No, it's not. It's about winning the scenario. It's not a death match. It's never been about it being a death match, but that's what people have forcibly turned it into because they won't try to do anything else. That or the other thing that I see is the endless amount of surrenders. And I'm like, seriously, if you are not going to fight, don't queue. It's that simple. I don't care what your reasons are. I don't care if you're a veteran player. I don't care if you're a new player. If you queue up to get into a scenario, fight it out. No matter what the other side has on their side. It doesn't matter. Yes, there are times when you do get forced to concede the point if there's no healers. I have been in plenty of scenarios where there wasn't the first healer. So yes, the odds of actually winning are slim and none, unless the other side just happens to do something really dumb. And what really gets me is the people that still want to vote to surrender. And like I pointed out the other day, that I said, you do realize that you're not getting the same rewards you were before. Did you not pay attention to the patch where they specifically changed the surrender system to punish you for surrendering right off the bat? And they're like, they ain't done no such thing. I'm like, yes, they did. It was clear as day.
Yeah.
And
a couple
of them went back and finally read it. They're like, well, this is. I'm not gonna say exactly what they said, but it was not meant for civilized conversation. I'm like, fight the scenario, play it so that you can win the objectives and win. This bit of go in and surrender or go stand off in a corner and just anything other than actually trying to put in any kind of team effort is just beyond me. I don't know why people want to do it.
Well, again, not to engage in shameless self-promotion, but because in this case I don't mean it that way, but some people know that over the course of my time here, I've published a lot of Warhammer videos. I did a scenario guide series, 24 of them, each one talking about a different scenario. And one of the points I kept making, in a lot of them, is when you have a scenario like Howling Gorge or Calidor Woods, where you have to go, or Norden Watch, right? When you have to go and capture a particular flag, you can't do it if you refuse to go to the flag.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems that you run into, even in Howling Gorge. The range classes, and I'm in Howling Gorge right now, and they're doing it right now. This engineer stops on the ramp, won't go up any closer, and all the range classes are so far away as to become ineffective. If you got to capture the flag, get up to the fracking flag, because then you can extend your range out to a point to help the melee classes advance and keep the enemy off of the flag.
Yeah.
If the enemy wants to find you, if the enemy wants to get to you, if you're playing an engineer, a bright wizard, whatever, if the bad guys want to get to you, they're going to get to you. And you might as well get up where you can be of the best use, and and just try to exert some control. So now they're all running away, and it's it's just sometimes it can be a little frustrating, I guess, is the way to put it.
Yeah, it can be frustrating and tempers get heated, especially in SCs. I get tired of seeing people that I know are veterans that know what they're doing, rather than be constructive and try and teach people that are newer that are legitimately don't know or have asked a question. What I get out of them or what I see them type is usually something on the lines of either get good, delete your tune. That needs to stop. That mindset doesn't help one bit. Okay, yes, you're a veteran player. You may have been playing since day one. I frankly don't care. But to sit there and drive home the point of, oh, you're just going to have the better than thou art attitude, rather than try to help teach new people, I'm like, how are you helping? If anything, you're just being more of the problem. I mean, you want people to learn these scenarios, and I'm not directing this at you, Karis, I'm just saying in general, people need to step up to the plate. Period. Yeah, I don't lead war bands like I used to, but I still offer advice when I see someone new that doesn't know. I fill them in. I said, no, I don't want lead. You're doing fine. Stay at it. And I offer them the best advice I can. And that's it. That's the way it should be. Not this toxicity that continues to be projected.
Well, if anybody new is listening to the podcast, let me say this. Remember that if you find yourself in a Norden Watch scenario as an order player, there are no points for capturing the bridge.
That is very true.
The points are at the flag, so get to the get to the flag. Get to the chopper, I mean, that's the same kind of thing.
That's Garrison Kelly. He's one of the guys that normally sits in with me on the podcast and shares his thoughts.
All right, I'm also in the middle of a Howling Gorge scenario right now.
Hold on a second. Let me read some of the stuff. But yeah, Garrison Kelly is who's in the Discord call with me. 6L. See, people aren't stupid. They don't care about mechanics. They know they will get more renown for kills. Well, then maybe the devs need to step in and reduce the renown that you get for kills and force people to go back to doing the objectives.
I have a comment about that.
But, hold on a second. See, new Digsby, King Room Priest. See, Zell. There's a simple fix. The renown to the objectives, snares, reward, spawn camping. Plenty of scenarios we've won by backcapping order and we get 2k renown. They farmed our spawn, lost, and got 10k plus. Yeah, I saw something like that earlier, Zell. And then the very next scenario after it was the reverse. But there's got to be some way to force this issue to break that mindset. Because it's, as things are, it's a losing fight. And I know some people are not going to agree with what I'm saying, and they're going to say, well, you can't just do that. From my perspective, put something in to force the issue. Don't leave it up to the player to decide, because the player's always going to try and take the easiest route.
Well, again, I haven't thought about that.
Go ahead.
Okay. The comment I heard you make, something that's, I can't read Twitch chat right now, so what I'm guessing, someone made the comment that, okay, if you go into a scenario with the strict purpose of farming for kills, you come away with more renown.
Yeah.
Than if you play the mechanics. Okay. There are 2 points about that, and I actually talked about this in my Northern Watch scenario and the one for Kane's Embrace. That if you have a group, a scenario group, and you're going to go into the scenarios just for that purpose, just to play for kills, then it is such a cosmically simple matter that when this, in the 30 seconds before the scenario begins, that one of you just type it in the scenario chat. Okay, we're going to push for kills. And then everybody knows. I've rarely ever seen that done, but it's such a simple thing to do. To just let the other guys in the scenario know that that's how you're going to play the scenario. And then they can play the scenario in the same manner. Or they can backcap, or they, whatever. There's a whole litany of things that can go on if people just communicate. The second thing, and I think this is a bit more important perhaps, is that it's also true that if you have 12 people in a scenario and you play the mechanics, if you play the mechanics of the scenario, hang on, I got a cough. If you play the mechanics of the scenario, the kills will fall in line because you're forcing your opposition to do one of 2 things. Let you have the mechanics or come and fight you over them, right? And if they're going to let you capture the flags, then they're just conceding the scenario. If they're going to try to stop you, then they have to come to you. And when they come to you, then you can kill them and you can get the renown. So I've always approached scenarios from that viewpoint, that if you play the mechanics, you force your opposition, to come and try to stop you, to prevent you from being successful. Okay, there's only one way they can do that, and that's to come in and fight. And when they come in and fight, you can kill them to your heart's content and, accomplish 2 goals at the same time, right? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, the scenario I'm in right now, one person's already saying 4 minutes till surrender. They don't even want to try and fight. Yeah, but it shouldn't be a case of needing to be RR80 to do anything. Simple fact is that people are bent on forcing to turn this game into anything other than what it is. They want everything to cater to their one wish, and that's it. They don't care if they gut everything else along the way. So, honestly, I would reduce the amount of renown you get for kills. At least in the SCs. Put something in place that makes the priority the objectives. And forces the fight there. This bit of, oh, go camp one side or the other. It just, I don't agree with it. And I'm never going to agree with it. That's not progression though, Little. Sitting there, so you're okay with people just gutting the game for their own amusement, because that's what it boils down to. They don't care about the objectives, they don't care about anything other than what gives them some gratification. If that's how people want to play, then they might as well just shut the doors on the server and lock it behind them.
I'm in a pyramid of etc.
Yeah, I'm in a Howling Gorge where looks like it's a pre-made. As soon as we got in, two people were like, just wait 4 minutes and surrender. And I won't surrender. I'm not going to do it.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this time. If anybody gets that reference.
Let's see. Little is saying...
Oh, man.
People will play the game to progress. If you stop the progression, they will find another way. They don't do it for the gratification. They do it because it's the fastest way to get RR. And then Anonymous is... Let's see... There's also people who are done, meaning they have their SOV, victorious, whatnot, best in slot gear. So basically pretty much everything, and they're just doing it for the kill board.
Yeah, well, that's... Check 1, 2. Am I still on?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Now we have uncovered the rotten apple in the barrel. That is Return of Reckoning. I'm going to wax all poetic here for a moment. No, but we have finally turned up the rotten apple in the barrel, and that is the kill board. Again, as someone who's been on the server since 2016 and have been, I'm just saying this because it's true. I've been here for all the changes that have been made. The kill board has done more to adversely affect the manner in which the game is played than anything else that has been done. When ranked was, and I played ranked, I didn't play it as much as some people. It wasn't my whole reason for existence, but I did play it. But when ranked was in its heyday, everything else ran smoothly. Then they introduced the frack and kill board, and everybody is, or not everybody, but there's a lot of people that simply don't want to fight in certain situations because they know it will show up on the kill board. And that's, I think, that's one of the core issues that we have this problem that we're discussing. So I invite anyone to weigh in.
I don't know if they'll ever find a way to balance that out, because I know a lot of people that are driven solely by the kill board. Jordy went on about endlessly. He's like, well, we don't have anything to judge our skill by. I said, so you're saying that the kill board tells you your skill level? Okay. Explain yourself. And he never could give me a solid answer.
The kill board is the kill board is an ego enhancement. Okay, that's what it is. It's for people to look, look, I'm better than you. Look at the kill board. I'm better than you. Okay, I'm playing a game. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm playing a game, and I have fun playing the game. And part of playing a competitive PvP game is that sometimes you're going to lose a fight. The key to it is that you're competitive, that the game is fun to play on a competitive level. Not that you never get killed so that you can go on the forums or whatever and talk about how great you are and everybody else sucks. All right, that's the mentality that the kill board reinforces, and that's why I've always thought it was a bad idea, and I still think it's a bad idea. And it does influence play. And it does influence the fact that you get so many surrender votes in SCs because people don't want to go out and risk. Tosh was on 2 weeks ago. Wasn't it 2 weeks ago he was on?
Yeah, give or take.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things Tosh talks about on his stream every now and then is that he says the same thing, that he doesn't care. I've heard him say this, that when it comes to dying in the video game, when it comes to dying on his Slayer, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. His thing is to go out and make the effort to fight. And I agree with him. Tosh and I don't always see eye to eye on everything when that comes up about this game, but on that I agree with him. I think he's right. You go out and fight, and sometimes losing the fight is part of the game. And for those people who want to take that, I think the server just locked up again. Maybe not. But for those people who want to take that and say, okay, well, I'm better than you because, you went out and got into a fight and got killed, and I didn't. Give me a fracking break, man. Please, go play WoW. Or go play Tiddlywinks.
Yeah,
do something.
Yeah, a little saying, I wish I had a pound for every time someone said, don't feed them, LOL. I agree with you there, Little. I think that, honestly, it is the dumbest thing ever that people sit there and say, oh, don't feed them, don't feed them. I'm like, guys, come on. So you want to just sit here and not do anything because you're afraid that you're gonna die? It drives me crazy.
Who is that? X?
It's anonymous. He's saying, I do wish to survive, but if it means not fighting at all, I wish to walk into my grave. Yeah.
No, I agree with it. Anonymous is 100% correct. I mean, every fight I get into, I want to win. That's part of.
You there, Karis? I think I lost him for a second, folks. Yeah, we'll give him a minute to get back. It may have locked up on him. Great, Howling Gorge again. But yeah, all in all, I think the kill board has been a negative impact on the server. Honestly, I wish they would do away with it so it would stop reinforcing that mindset. Just because you have you're number one on kills doesn't mean anything. Not to me anyway, it never will. And I agree with what Karish said, and I agree with Tosh on this. I'm here to have fun. If I'm not having fun, I'll leave. There's no point. I'm not gonna play a game just to inflate my ego, which I care nothing about. And it's one thing I just don't care for when I see it rear its ugly head, because all it does is promote toxicity, which is harmful to any game, any community out there. It doesn't help. Anyone else got any topics or questions you would like to pose? Now is the time to do it, guys. I largely wanted this podcast to be about reading off some of the things you guys come up with and, being able to discuss them. So if anybody's got thoughts that they want heard, floor's open. I got murdered on that one. Anyone at all? Come on, guys. Some of you I know that are lurking. You've talked to me endlessly about things. Now's your chance. Keep in mind the devs do see this, and no, that does not mean shy away from what you want to say. It just means here's your chance to voice your opinion, and hopefully who knows, one of them might take it to heart, or it might get some consideration. You never know. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Hold on. Why do we have to do scenarios open to pre-mades to compete events? On that one, I don't know. Little. I mean, if they could put something in to where it would allow pre-mades to face off solely against pre-mades, I'd be okay with that. But so far, they haven't really put anything in that even remotely touches that. And every time they try to find a new way to stop the pre-mades from getting into something, they figure a way around it. I mean, the overall end goal of the game is to get to the top end gear. Now, what you get out of it from that point is entirely up to you. I mean, I've got two characters that are level 80 or level 80 renowned and are full sovereign. This guy just hit full sovereign. And people ask me, well, are you going to keep playing them? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, that is frustrating. I will say that. That is extremely frustrating when you're sitting trying to do an event and the pre-mades will go and specifically farm. They'll specifically try to queue for that scenario just to camp it, and they'll sit in there. They will keep doing it until it gets to a point where people just give up. And again, Order wants to surrender. This is why I wish they would take the surrender vote system out altogether. You don't get anything for surrendering. And I'm queuing Discording it. So it just, I don't know. I mean, honestly, if they're going to put events in, my take on it would be remove any requirement to force a PvP issue. That way, those people that want to try and get it done have got a chance. That or put in a separate part of it that, or a separate system. I mean, there's got to be some way to find a middle ground. And unfortunately, with what's going on now, you got a lot of people that are taken to not even trying to do events because all they run into is pre-made, so they don't get them done. So they're basically being denied content because somebody wants to feed their ego. And that's all that is. I don't care if I make people mad with what I say. It doesn't change the fact that that is the truth of it. And part of the reason I've said that is when I've been on Destro working on the quest guide, I've seen the comments in T4. The laughing about, oh, we're going to farm us some news, we're going to run them off the game. I've seen the same comments on Order. The problem is that the people that get annoyed about it and want to have a go at me about it is the very ones that are the problems, because I'm basically drawing attention to something they would rather see not even brought up. And I've run into that enough in my life to know the difference.
Check 1-2 on my back.
Yeah, I hear you. It's just,
yeah,
it's a sad state of affairs to see people want to do that just for no other reason than their own amusement. And I'm like, why do you want to reinforce a negative aspect of the community? It's the same way when I hear people say, well, how come we don't have more people playing? We don't have more people playing the game because a lot of the people that do come in and check out the game, they don't stay very long because the people that do like that generally run them off. And then they say, oh, well, they need to get good. It's got nothing to do with getting good. I could say some very colorful things right now, and I wouldn't care two bits if I annoyed people with it. But I'm not, because I've got it in family-friendly mode. The point is that people need to stop trying to gut the game, period. And I keep driving home that point because that's where one of the problems that's crippling it is coming from. Thank you for the follow. Is it Elaine Rod? Alan Rod? If I'm saying that wrong, I do apologize. No, I think it's the case some people feel that the Ironbreaker is extremely hard to play because you have so many abilities that you have to do in a certain rotation to make them work to their maximum effectiveness. You almost have to be a piano player to play them at times. They're not as, and the kebab is not as hard to play as the Ironbreaker. Go ahead.
Blackguards are kind of like that. I was just gonna say blackguards are kind of like that.
Yeah.
I have a rank 40 blackguard that, you have to get, it is kind of like playing a piano sometimes. But if you can get it to work, it's a great class, right? I mean, blackguard. If you can get it to work, blackguards are a great class. And you have a lot of fun with them.
But yeah, I've seen plenty of Ironbreaker tanks. I've seen plenty of kebabs. It might just be the time of day you're playing as to how many of them you're seeing. Yeah, the Blackguard, the Blackguard's the opposite of the Ironbreaker, if I'm not mistaken. Did I lose you, Karis?
No, I'm here.
No, I
I'm
was.
sorry. I didn't realize you were talking to me.
Yeah, I was. Well, I was talking to you in conjunction with what Rod was saying in the chat.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask you to repeat yourself because I was in a fight with the Chosen.
He was saying in. Let me see. I'll read it off. He was saying, "Is the dwarf tank not attractive for PvP? I see most time kebabs. I like Blackguard players, HP and Shield, and many more." And I was talking about how the Ironbreaker, you pretty much have to be a piano player to play it effectively. I play an Ironbreaker myself, so it can be a little tricky to play at times. But yeah, it's yeah, I would say for me, I've seen a mix of both kebabs and Ironbreakers. It depends on if you get a set team in there or whatnot, Rod.
Here's my, or I can give my thoughts on playing a Blackguard if you want, as opposed to playing an Ironbreaker.
Well, go ahead, and then I'll answer the next part of what he was saying about scenario setups.
Blackguards are one of those classes, one of those takes that have very specific class utility, and it's because of the knockdown punt mechanic that the Blackguard absolutely dominates at, better than any other class in the game. Knights can come close to doing that, but nobody does it better. Nobody does it better than a Blackguard, and you can you can sort of spec to support that. That one aspect of the class, the knockdown punt mechanic. And I got to admit that when you do that, when you successfully pull that, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun as a Blackguard player. But S&B Blackguards are kind of like Swordmasters in one regard, in that the S&B spec for a Swordmaster and the S&B spec for a Blackguard, they're kind of like all in. Okay, if you're gonna play Sword and Shield, then you're kind of like all into that mechanic, right? You have to spec everything for the defense and the block, and you can be very successful. But if you're going to run two-hand and have some fun, there are a lot of options on a Blackguard as far as what builds you get, and so it's an intricate class to play. It's just another interesting class to play. Ironbreakers are boring. And that's all I got to say about that.
Funny.
I'm serious, man. I find the dwarf, except for engineers. Engineers are an absolute blast. Other than that, dwarf classes are kind of boring. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
This coming from an elf player. I'll add that in my book of grudges.
Alright. Engineers are fun, man. You can have a lot of fun with an engineer.
Yeah, mister, I play a pointy-eared elf. And I seem to forget, who is it that comes to the rescue of your lands most of the time? Oh, that's right. It's the Dowie. We usually end up representing the largest defense force. You guys can't even defend your own lands.
Well, on those occasions when you manage to find your way out of Thunder Mountain, yeah,
we spend more time defending your precious elf lands than we do ours.
Oh, man.
And you want to play this game, we'll go that route. But let's look at how many times we've had elf lands to fight over.
Well, I blame the Dark Elves for that.
Well, that's your fault because you don't know how to talk to your own kin. You guys are so arrogant towards your own to outsiders. You're even worse to your own kind. That's a mess of your own making.
Well, you know.
No, I just
Okay,
flat. I just
I had,
flat
no,
don't.
man, I had a joke. I had a joke there. I had a joke there, and then I thought, nah, because it's if we were on my stream, I would have done it. It was something about witch elves, and
I mean, we
maybe
want to get in it. We want to get into the nitpicky of lore. I mean, I can lay it out the fact that the elves were too arrogant to tell their closest ally that they were in the middle of a civil war, and rather than let their allies know to avoid a conflict, they kept their mouth shut. And then, oh, by the way, they decided to shave the beard off the dwarf ambassador and send him back to his people, thinking that the Dowie wouldn't respond with force. So yeah, the elves and their own stupidity brought that nightmare about.
yeah. But what I want out of that is a statue. I want to get a statue to the guy who taught witch elves to wear bikinis. That's, if you're going to have a statue in the elf city, it should be to whoever it was who had that idea. For the witch elves to wear bikinis. That was a brilliant idea, and that guy should be, duly honored.
I play a Dowie engineer myself, Rod. They tend to suffer in fast-paced moving combat, where they come into their own is in fixed defenses and sieges. Depends on which faction are you wanting, or which faction are you playing, or do you play both? Because any one of the races has their ups and downs. I mean, I've seen Bright Wizards, I've seen DPS Archmage, Engies come into their own. Those are usually your range classes that are in the top echelons, and then you've got Shadow Hunters or Shadow Warriors and White Lions that do a mess of damage. And there actually a Rune Priest can do a lot of damage too, because I used to run with one that was spec DPS, and he would give Bright Wizards a run for their money. So I mean, it boils down to who's playing the class and if they push it to their max level to get the most out of it. But that's up to the individual person. Any other topics anyone would like to bring to the table? Come on, guys. This is all about you guys. I want you guys to speak your piece. I want to hear the ideas that you want, that you were hoping to see.
All right, so can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, Anonymous says I don't play witch elves because they lost the wardrobe. That's kind of the point.
I mean, we've talked about the toxicity of the server before, so I don't want to get back on that subject, and I shouldn't have went so far with it, but it's play behaviors that I've seen of recent, and what they're tied to is it's an uphill fight. Me as a streamer, I do my best to try to promote and get people in the game. But it doesn't help when those people that come in and try the game based off of watching my stream, or if they watch Karis' stream or Realm Watch or anything else, it doesn't help if they have a negative experience and then they leave the game. Because guess what? They're going to go tell all their friends, don't bother. I mean, that's just the simple reality of it. My sole objective for the things I do, like this podcast, is to promote positivity and try and figure out a medium something, put forward an idea that can, hopefully stabilize things, or that might turn the community's mindset around. That's why I'm asking you guys. It's you guys and everyone else that plays the game. Collectively, we've all got a voice. I'm trying to see that you guys have a venue for it.
You just reminded me of something I meant to. You touched on a point earlier that I wanted to shed some light on in context of my unique sort of position here of having a member of the Return of Reckoning team who actually lives in my house. So for those who may not know, if anybody's listening who may not be aware, there's a member of the Return of Reckoning team, runs a chosen named Major Zero, and he plays a sword master named Major Zero, and he is part of the team, and he's listed as one of the not game master. What's the other word? Community management, right? Yeah, community management. But he does dev work. He actually does dev work on certain issues. And you brought up earlier the whole live event thing. That on the live events, and it's true, it has happened, of course, that you'll have pre-mates form that will go out and hang out at the spots where people have to go to complete the live event, just to try to farm them for kills and stuff like that. Okay. That has, of course, been true on occasion over the lifetime of the server. But one of the aspects of the game that my son does work on and has been working on a lot lately are the live events. He's done a lot of the work for the live events that have gone active, and that is something that has been taken into account now lately when creating them, is to try to put things, some things that are put into PvE zones to negate that very factor, and spreading the kill counts over not just scenarios but open RVR, stuff like that. I mean, so that issue that you brought up, that's all I'm saying. That issue that you brought up earlier about how sometimes people will form pre-mades to go out and try to just make life hard, for people trying to do the event. They have taken that into account lately to try to prevent that, so, or lessen that at least, to lessen the impact of people who do that stuff. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Fair enough. Appreciate you shedding some light on that, because there's a lot of new people that I've seen come and go that have left because they're like, well, yeah, we'd like to check out these, but we can't do nothing. We're just getting mauled.
Now, see, this would be a good scenario. The one I'm in, this would be a good scenario to be broadcasting, actually, because on the ground, fighting on the ground, we are dominating destruction, but they have captured all 5 objectives because somebody was playing the mechanics in the background, right? So
yeah,
they're winning on points. They're winning on the scenario on points.
Alright, let me read off what Zale just said. With current event, I like the idea of the egg hunt, but for the most part, every zone, the eggs are already cracked or bugged, which is true. The casual new player likely doesn't get to enjoy this, but the Xmas event had presents which dropped from players. It might be a better idea for next time to have a chance for eggs to drop from the players in RVR. That's actually a solid idea, because I agree with you there. A lot of the eggs I find are cracked or bugged out, and it's you basically, or you either have to log on in a really oddball time zone so you have a chance of getting fresh spawns, or more than likely you won't get them at all.
One of the suggestions.
I like 2 eggs. Hold on, I'm reading off everything that was said
Okay.
after that.
All right.
Rod, I like eggs too. It's a cool idea, which it is. It's a valid idea from Zell. Let's see, and that's it. Deadless. Oh, sorry, you're talking serious business. Yeah, you logged in as I'm doing the podcast, Deadless, where we talk about various subjects and whatnot in the community, come up with ideas to put forward to pass along to the dev team. Go ahead, Karis.
One thing that has been discussed also is perhaps reducing the respawn time on cracked eggs for the next year when this one comes up again. I can tell you that this particular live event, one reason it's structured the way it is, and therefore is not likely to change, is because some of the drop items that show up in the eggs, like the aviator goggles, right? Everybody wants the freaking aviator goggles, and I don't blame them. I mean, they're a great cosmetic item, but the drop rate on them is really low. Okay, so that's why the eggs are set up the way they are, because the items that are attached to opening the eggs are some of the most prized on the server. So to have them, and for that reason, I don't think the mechanic of this particular live event, maybe others, but for this particular live event, it's not likely to change because of, again, some of the items that are attached to that you can get from the eggs, and so it's meant to be hard, right? If you want to get the aviator goggles, it's kind of meant to be hard, and that's the current philosophy. And again, I got that straight from the horse's mouth, so.
I got you. But no, I like the idea of what Zills is putting forward. When they had the Christmas event and the stuff dropped off the players, I do remember some of the feedback from that, and there were a lot of people that liked it that way. It gave people a more of an even chance to get what they needed for the drops, as opposed to putting it something that people can camp, like those eggs. Because I've seen more than a fair few that camp certain hot spots of those eggs, and they just watch and wait, and as soon as somebody shows up, they murder them.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he's wrong. I don't mean it that way at all. I'm not saying he's wrong in his view. That's Zell, he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's wrong by any means. I'm just saying that I was just trying to explain, the current thinking between the Christmas event and this event. And that it's mainly tied to, some of the prizes that do drop. And they don't want all the event mechanics. They don't want the event mechanics to be the same for every event that comes up,
Yeah,
things have to be.
I get not wanting to have the mechanics the same for everything, but as far as in the interest of having an event that's enjoyable to where people have a chance of getting it completed, I don't know how many times I've had people that have come to me and said, dude, I can't even get the event done. They're like, I'm getting camped unmercifully. And I'm like, it's, as long as they have it to where it's going to be PvP, it's going to happen, especially if you're trying to work on it solo. It's like when they had the last big event where you had people up in Prague. I sat and watched the endless amount of chatter out of that, where people were just, some people got so mad they deleted their characters and was like, they're done. They just quit. Because of the camping on both sides. I'm not just saying Destro, because Order was doing it too. And it was nightmarish. Oh, that's also an idea, and I'm way too late. Yeah.
Did you just have a big, huge lag spike?
Yep.
All right.
It's the server. I'm not sure what's going on. I think maybe the hamster's having trouble. But yeah, that's also something to take into consideration. If they do leave it like it is now, then add that in there as an addition. I would agree with that. Add it in to where the eggs drop off the players so that it splits the attention of those people that are strictly PvP minded. So it gives those who are maybe not so good at PvP a fighting chance to at least get the event done. Because as it stands now, it's not very popular.
Well, there's another good that I would point out another aspect of it. I talked about this on Realm Watch too. That I admit when it comes to the live events, the yearly live events that the server does, this one is my least favorite. And it's because of the the time to invest the time to run around all over the place looking for eggs. It doesn't, that in and of itself doesn't hold much interest for me. However, if you look up, you're in game. If you pull up the event page where it lists the prizes, another way to look at it is the middle prizes. Right, the middle prizes that it has are basically all the ones I wanted to get. And once I achieve, and you can achieve that without finding a single egg. You can get up to the middle section and get those prizes without finding a single egg. Okay, it's only if you decide that you want to get all the way to the end to get the wings, whatever else is on there.
The wings, the renowned potion, which I don't
Yeah.
care about that, and I've got the wings on another character. So, but yeah, the thing is that from your, I understand what you're saying, but you got people that are completionists that like to go all the way for it. So, there needs to be some kind of middle ground, because it can't just be if you got a new player coming in that doesn't know, them to just get slaughtered indiscriminately to the point that they lose interest in it. Because I hate to burst people's bubbles, but new people coming in, if they see that kind of play style, it doesn't encourage them to learn. And everybody's like, well, they need to get a backbone. It's not it. Even at times, it's annoyed me, and I'm a veteran player of many PvP games. The point is that I know as a PvPer, there are times when you need to back off. You need to take a step back and stop, because your behavior will drive people away. It's that simple. And that's the part that's fallen on deaf ears, because nobody wants to back off. I've heard it out of people in Bitterstone. I've heard it out of people in Gimli, been in Tylax, Averland Greatswords, and a number of Destro guilds. They're like, oh, well, it's what I had to go through, so I'm going to inflict as much grief on new players as I can. So really, you've become a sadistic wretch towards new players, but yet you say you want new people to check out the game?
Don't mince words. Tell us how you really feel.
No, I'm taking into account everything I'm hearing, and I'm putting it out there, because this is stuff that needs to be talked about. These are issues that legitimately are killing the server. Maybe slowly, but it is doing a job. I mean, you might not like what I'm saying, and you don't have to agree with it. That's the whole point of this. Everybody can have their own view. I'm sitting here relaying what I'm seeing people say and the player styles that I'm observing.
But one thing, there was one thing about the whole ranked scene that I appreciated when it came to the nuance of the issue you're talking about. When ranked was in its heyday, I guess, and they were, one thing that ranked accomplished as an unintended consequence, it wasn't the point of ranked, but as an unintended consequence of the fact that it existed, it gave the toxic somewhere to go. And and the people who were that hardcore about the whole gaming issue had a place to go and indulge themselves, and nobody, and the rest, everyone else, nobody cared. They had their place to go, and it was all fine, and everybody could have fun. And so that was one of the reasons I appreciated the whole ranked scene. Okay, well, ranked is sort of, I mean, there's still people who play it, but not in any great numbers anymore.
Yeah, it's only a small percentage, and everything I've heard coming out of it of lately has been every time somebody new tries to jump in, they basically get run off because you've got that small percentage that are just that. They're like, if you come in here, you better know everything, be top of your game, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And they outright are toxic to people, and they just don't care. So it doesn't incentivize a reason to want to play that aspect of the game. The whole point of everything we're trying to do is to want people to come in and play the game, to have fun, to stay and play, not leave.
Come on, get up here.
I mean, here's a question to you guys in chat. Ultimately, at the end of the day, which would you rather have? Would you rather have a healthy, positive environment on the server, or do you want more of the negative aspect of it, to where we're struggling to keep a population to where it's, you got people playing both sides just to have something to do? Straight up question for you. Answer it however you want to. You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm asking right now, what do you want? A positive growth environment, or do you want a negative wasteland?
God damn it.
And I'm gonna wait till you guys decide to answer, because I legitimately want to hear your thoughts on it, whether you disagree with me or agree.
Well, my 2 cents is I want more people. I want more players, because players can get better if you just give them a chance.
Okay, let's see. Hold on a second. Rod saying, guys, I'm really meaning it's your server to do actually it. And a good job. I mean, I can play each day, SC or open RVR, buy a game with lower community, and for sure positive. Okay, I can respect that. I get what you're saying. How about the rest of you guys? Come on, guys. I know y'all have got thoughts on this. Because I know if Altheon was in here, he would say his piece on it, because I've plenty of times he's come to me and voiced his opinion. pretty much that's the gist of it. Anonymous, is I'm asking, which would you prefer? What would you rather see? A positive, growing environment where we have more people coming in who stay to play the game and enjoy it in all its aspects, PvP, PvE, whatever, or would you rather see the game basically stay a wasteland? Where you've got a handful of people that are bent on running people off. That's true. If we have a positive environment and growth in the community, I mean, the idea is to get more people to come and play the game, which would mean more people to fight in the PvP fights. That's also true, Anonymous. I want to see a healthy player base, an environment where you can find, good solid fights and stuff. For my part, I'm just tired of seeing the negative aspect of it and seeing the destructive qualities that have cost us players. It's kind of like when the last Lazy Peon video was done. We had a flood of players come in, and within a week, 2 weeks tops, most of those players were gone. And most of the comments that I saw that were relayed to me when people would come by and stop in my chat is they were leaving because of how incredibly toxic the player base was. That's not a good thing. That is not good when we have a major YouTuber or anyone that does a promotion of the server, and then that's the experience that a new player leaves with. But as of yet, I've been unable to make most people understand that, or when I try to bring it up and talk about it, people don't want to hear it, or they get hostile because they feel that I'm threatening their gameplay. Which I'm not threatening their gameplay, I'm just trying to make them aware of the fact that what you're doing is not helping. But I do like the suggestion with the world event, or with the live events that Zell put forward. That would definitely be a route to explore. I would be willing to give it a try. Anything that helps, I'm willing to give a try.
Good health to you.
Pretty much.
Man.
That's an interesting combo. Well, I can't say anything because I listen to a little bit of death metal. I'm more of a classical person.
Yeah, I'm just making a little joke. If there's anybody in the stream who watches my stream with any regularity, I have talked from time to time about my inability to fully grasp the concept of death metal music. And I'm not trying to denigrate or demean anybody who listens to death metal. I mean, listen to what you want. That's not the point. I'm just saying I personally don't get it, But That's a whole nother story, I suppose.
Well, I think of anything that comes out of this podcast, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I think the one thing that I'm understanding from those that have spoken and some that have DM'd me is, yes, they want to see a positive environment. They enjoy PvP and whatnot, so they don't want to see any restrictions imposed on PvP. I get it, guys. I really do. I'm not talking about nerfing one aspect of the game. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm wanting people to understand is that when you lash out at others because you're frustrated at something, or in this case with the way that some in the community tend to lash out at newer players for malicious reasons, it's got a negative side effect. And some of the people that do it, I've seen repeatedly say, well, how are we losing people? Why aren't we having more people play the game? Stop and think about what you're doing. I mean, you can't be that oblivious to the fact that your actions have a consequence. It's that simple. It's no different than real life. If you want there to be a positive environment, you got to create it.
You have to create one. Yeah.
You can't. You will never nourish growth on this server so long as you promote a negative aspect. It'll never happen. And that's where I feel that's the part of the game that needs the most work. And there's things that could be tried to address it. It might hurt in the short term, but in the long term, it would drive home the point. And there comes a point where you have to try something desperate to get a response, because when you let things get to the point where people are entrenched in their mindset, they're not going to change. Not unless you force it.
When you get to a point where you think it's appropriate, can I have like 2 or 3 minutes to talk about music?
Well, we'll save a little bit for that toward the end.
All right.
I'll give it to you.
That's fine.
At the end.
That's fine.
But again, with the DMs I'm getting and whatnot, that's what I'm inclined to believe. And I want people to understand this. Anything you guys say in this podcast is not going to get used against you. For one, I would raise Immortal Cain if I hear of it. I'm not here to single people out for their opinions. I want you to have your opinions. I respect people when they have different opinions. But you've got to step up to the plate and say your piece. You can't sit in the shadows, say something, and then back off as soon as somebody calls attention to it. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for your principles. You've got to take a stand somewhere. And that is what I'm trying to encourage. Don't just roll over. Anybody else have any kind of topics or ideas, anything you would maybe like to put forward on ways to maybe improve PvP or balance and stability on the server, or what you think for possible ideas of future content release? I mean, case in point, Tomb of the Vulture Lord is planned for way down the road. They don't have an ETA on it, but they are planning to enter it at some point.
It is being worked on. I can confirm that.
Well, there you just heard it from a reliable source. It is being worked on. Tomb of the Vulture Lord. Another thing, and this is something Max said, dwarf cities being added into the siege rotation for capital cities. What do you guys think?
That is also being worked on.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that? To where you'll be able to defend the two cities. Or attack, depending on what faction you're on at the time.
Yeah, that is also being worked on. That would be, I think that would be just awesome. I mean,
really. I know Bitterstone's waiting on it. I told them about it when Max brought it up during that first time during your during your realm watch, and they're like, what? And I said, yeah, he just said it. And then he brought it up during episode 6 on the podcast where he talked about it. He also asked thoughts of what people would think if they added in the 2 elf cities. One for dark elves, one for high elves.
See, the Dark Elf City, I think that'd be a great place to visit, because all the goth chicks hanging out, and I mean, there's bound to be some great bars, right? There's bound to be some great bars to go
Funny,
visit, and
funny. But yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what they're working on, guys. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and they do, and I'll put it to this. This I can say because Max has said it to me. They appreciate the podcast that I'm doing because it's letting them hear another aspect, another voice from the community. That's why I keep pushing you guys to share your ideas. They do listen. If you ever wanted a direct pipeline to the devs, what better way than to say your piece right now? Okay, let's see. Zell's saying for new players, it would be good if the starting quest giver gave the player an opportunity to jump forward to the first RVR camp, start there if they choose. I like that idea, and know they can wear war. Okay, and I know they can war report, but that relies on them knowing that that's an option and it's hidden on the UI at the start, which is also true. Most of them don't know that. So that would actually be an interesting concept there to put it in to give them the option to jump to the first war camp. That wouldn't be a bad idea. That would not be a bad idea at all. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, there's an idea I've kind of toyed with over the years, and I've talked to a couple people about it in quite unofficial context, right? Nobody that would just... Anyway, the idea is introducing a set of one-shot items at all levels. An item that you could get that you can only use once that does a particular thing. You could flesh it all out, but I'm saying if you found one, if you got one, however, it'd be in your... you could put it on your action bar, and in a certain situation you hit it, that it helps you get a victory, it helps you get away, it helps you with a strength bonus or whatever, temporary, but it's a one-shot deal, and then you got to go out and try to find another one or whatever. And I mean, I think it would be interesting. I always say I'm not a coder, so I don't know what would be involved with making that work, but it's just an idea I've sort of toyed with from time to time. So if anybody has, a comment about that. Because see, it was, where I got the idea was, for those who remember Torquemada, right? When Torquemada was here, one thing he did was he started a thread one day on the forums asking for submissions for names of, unique names for weapons. And his idea was that people could earn a unique name. What was that?
Weather alert.
Oh, okay. Anyway, his idea was that they were going to set up a system where people could earn a unique name for whatever weapon they were using. So instead of just saying I'm using the great sword or the fortress great sword or whatever, I'm using Glamdring or whatever name, there would be a list of names that you could earn a specific one for the sword you're using. And so he was asking for submissions on
My greetings.
names for great weapons, right? Okay, well, I thought that was a great idea. I thought it was, kind of cool, but then for those who were on the server at that time, you know the story of what happened to Torquemada, so it never went anywhere. So that's the genesis for my thinking, is that, something unique like that, it might be, it just might be interesting to put into the game. So if anybody has an idea or a comment.
Yeah, Zell was saying, hold on. I think a mail quest type thing to explain really point binding would be useful too. Alot, never change it, and the first time they use the book of binding, it would take them straight back to the start, which would be frustrating for their experience, which is true. It might be helpful to have a little quest tooltip in that does that puts it right in front of them, because there's a lot of people that come in this game and it's a massive learning curve. Because I know, case in point, the last couple of days, I've had people come in asking questions, and I do my best to answer them, but even I'm be one to admit I don't know everything there is to know, even after nearly 4 years of playing this.
Damn it. But I thought the name, the unique sword or, great weapon name, I thought that was kind of cool. It was like the one idea that Torque had that wasn't, that wasn't destructive. So I don't know how many people remember the days of when Torque was in charge, but
I am not familiar. I'm not familiar enough with the White Wizard to help you on that one, Rod. You might get an answer out of somebody in the advice channel. There may be some build information on the Wiki RoR page, and then I think Fixer has some guides and stuff on his end on some of his stuff. But I don't know hardly anything about the Bright Wizard to be able to tell you on that one.
Well met.
Alright guys, we're coming up on the tail end of the podcast, and I told Karis he could talk about music for a little bit, but we'll have to keep it brief because I am going to wrap things up here shortly. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. I do want to thank everybody for, giving out, their viewpoints of things. And guys, my door is always open. This is something I cannot stress enough about the podcast. Is the point of them is for people to share ideas and those ideas to get pushed forward.
I will wait until the music moment is kind of past. I'll wait until my stream. I'll talk about it on my stream later tonight. Because music is, as you well know, music is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
on my stream. So.
I brought that up before, Zell, but you are right.
Just in case you miss it.
Yeah.
One fun. I'm reading what Zell says here.
Yeah. So am I. Siege.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Just in case you missed it, and one final, there was someone on the podcast a few weeks back who was new and did not know about the patch notes changes, and they were confused about new mechanics, etc. It would be great if the patch notes could be displayed in the Tome of Knowledge so that newer players get that info in-game rather than relying on them going to the site in Discord. Well, here's the other thing. They put the patch notes on the launcher too. So when you first fire up the game, that's the first thing you're seeing is right in front of you. So far, every time they've done a patch, they've put it in there or updated it to reflect it.
My welcome.
That's true. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I'm just saying that they try to avail it so people, or put it in a place where people will avail themselves of it, but a lot of people just, they don't bother to read. But at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. I do want to thank Karis for showing up today. Thank all of you wonderful people for tuning in. Appreciate the follows, Rod. Guys, my door is always open. If you ever want to be on the show to have your voice heard, please, please, please let me know. I repeatedly put out advisements telling people when the times are, when the show dates are, to come share their thoughts. So, and also, Karis does the weekly Realm Watch, so check him out.
Realm Watch.
Actually, Karis, if you'd like to, fill him in on it.
Yeah, Realm Watch, in case someone is not aware, we every Friday, 8 p.m. to midnight outdoor time, which is 2 p.m. to 6 Eastern Standard Time, which is where Techno and I happen to reside. And Realm Watch is another means to promote the game, promote the server. And I have a character that is invincible and gets to fly like Superman, and I fly around over the battlefield, or in scenarios, or over the battlefield, and watch what's going on and comment on what's going on, And we did one yesterday. It was a lot of fun. I actually had, it was it was a lot of fun, and it is fun. And that's another opportunity to come in and talk about the game. Especially if you're new or whatever, talk about the game, see what's going on. And so it's just another means to promote the server. So please check us out next Friday, 2 to 6 Eastern, 8 p.m. to midnight outdoor time. And then real quick, I also run my own stream, just like Toth Monra does, under the same name. And I'll be on later. Well, not to say, I say the same name. I don't run under Toth Monra. I run under my name. You get the right.
I put out a link.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you what you say. All right, guys. It's been fun. I'm going to take a short little AFK break, and then I'm going to see what else I can get into RVR-wise. It looks like things fell apart with what Destro was just doing as so far as you guys saw. It wasn't pretty. So I shall return.
Thanks, Toth. I don't blame you. All right, I just got invited to a Smash War band, so I got to jump over there. Take care, buddy. Thanks again. Take care.